Silence means yes in this context. All
Absolutely.
right. So, hello, Greentown. Thank you for spending the morning with us. For those of you I have not met yet, I'm Nina Berger. I'm Greentown's Senior Director of Partnerships. For those of you outside of the Greentown community, we also want to extend you a welcome. If you're familiar with who we are and what we do and you would like to learn more, please don't hesitate to reach out after this session. We are super excited to have Jean-Luc Meyer of Schneider Electric and Shawn Murphy of Titan Advanced Energy Solutions here with us today. These two have worked super closely together through the Schneider and Greentown Bold Ideas Challenge in 2018 and well beyond. Before we get to the fun stuff, a few logistical notes that I bet you are all experts on by now. First, we will be recording this session, so folks who cannot attend can then view it at a later date. Our team may also take a couple of screenshots for use in our social media, and so consider yourselves appropriately warned there. Second, we're going to ask that you all remain on mute for this session unless you are one of our two speakers. This will ensure overall audio quality. And then lastly, please don't be shy about using Zoom's chat function to submit questions as you have them. While we're going to keep you all on mute, we want to welcome dialogue, and we're going to preserve around 15 minutes or so of this session for Q&A. So at that point, I'll go ahead, I'll scroll up through the chat box, and I'll look to your questions and direct them at the speakers. All make sense? Yeah? Okay. So the goal of today is to share a success story, to talk about how a particular corporate startup partnership evolved and how it has been beneficial and what learnings have come out of the process. To walk us through this, we have Shawn Murphy, who is the co-founder and CEO, CTO of Titan Advanced Energy Solutions. Titan works to decarbonize and electrify the world by maximizing the utility of lithium-ion batteries and then by using ultrasound and advanced algorithms. If you want to dig into the weeds of the tech, I am definitely going to let you direct those questions directly to Shawn. Shawn has over 25 years of experience in innovation and technology. He has founded 4 startups, created an innovation engineering center for Shell called Shell TechWorks, and has deployed instruments and spacecraft for NASA during his tenure at Draper Laboratory. Then we have Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc is an SVP of Business Development with Schneider's global strategy team. In this role, he is responsible for accelerating innovation by fostering collaboration between Schneider and startups like Titan. He first joined Schneider in 2011 to lead their power solutions line of business, and he has over 25 years of experience in the IT industry, which includes leadership positions with Hewlett-Packard, as well as consulting for global corporations on operational excellence, sales, and marketing. Jean-Luc was super involved in the Bold Ideas Challenge that Schneider and Greentown ran in 2018. And I have it on very good authority that he's a source of kick-butt advice for startups. Both Shawn and Jean-Luc are friends of Greentown, and we're really, really grateful to have them in our community. So with that, I think we should get to the fun stuff. Shawn, I'm hoping you can kick us off by sharing the story of the Titan-Schneider partnership from your perspective. Where did it come from, and how did it evolve, and all those fun details?
Yeah, it's first of all, before we kick off on that, I wanted to. It's so good to be reunited with the Greentown folks and see you guys all, and see the happy faces. I know we left because we were just growing and outgrowing the lab, but we could tell you that internally we always miss the times, and we find that it was like one of the best times of the company. And really, if it wasn't for Greentown, I don't think that we would have been where we are, and I don't think we would have got the funding. I don't think we would have found Schneider. So basically, the company would not prospered or existed in the way it is right now if it wasn't for Greentown. And we say that very seriously because it was so much support and help and connections in kind of boosting the company where it is, and the interns and the mass CC. There's this whole ecosystem that was created. So before kind of going in even into the bold ideas, the platform itself is very, very important. And I always say that what was the two critical successes outside of Titan, pushing and being creative? It was the Greentown and Mass CC. Those are the two things that we always bring up, and it's very important for everyone to know that. So, without any further ado, I have to say that the bold ideas. It was originally, I had no idea how that would work out, and because I was on the other side of the coin, because I was at Shell, so I had a scouting organization to do this, and it was very difficult because the speed of large companies and the speed of small companies, that is never going to be the same. It's just different. And how do you create that almost like a neutral zone that you can have that the two companies can talk? It all depends on the people. And if you don't have the right people in the organization with the right mandate, it would never work. So to begin with, I knew it from experience that 95% of the time it fails. So I was like a little bit skeptical of it, I have to say. But going into it, and then there were some really, really good people on the Schneider side on that first meeting when I did that 5-minute pitch. It's supposed to be 5 minutes. I think I stretched it to 15 minutes, but that's not going to be the first time I did that. So I got really good feedback, and they were really, really excited. And I saw that Scott Daniels is on the call as well. Jean-Luc, I think you were on the phone. You were not there present. I think, Scott, you were there for the first time. You were in the meeting as well. There was a large group of people. And I have to say that I was like, okay, this is good. Let's see what happens. And it later on, it really became apparent that it was driven by several individuals internally in the company to make this thing happen, to not make only bold ideas success, but they realized, meaning Schneider, they realized that the compatibility with us, and then Jean-Luc took it almost like a mission that really makes sure that this thing it's just not a one-off, that actually it kind of follows through, and then introducing us to the business units, introducing us to the venture group, driving that, reinforcing that. I mean, we had endless meetings, official, unofficial, how to make this thing work, how to get this, and then what this led to, from that bold ideas, that led to a Series A investment, which Schneider Electric led, and that was very, very very kind of instrumental for our company in order to get where we are and where we're moving. And then, of course, that did not stop there. So Jean-Luc, who sits on the board of our company, continued pushing, encouraging other people in the company, like Scott, like Herberto, who leads the venture group, like Emmanuel, Jean-Louis, all the rest of the people, to just kind of make sure that this is not just an investment in a Series A, but there is a reason why the bold ideas was there. There's a reason why the investment, but that makes business sense. But at the same time, it's not like we become a subsidiary of Schneider, that we are sitting on our own, but it's helping us work in this aspect. And I have to say that is like one of the greatest things. So it's a true testament to leadership. So thank you, Jean-Luc, being a friend and being a partner in this journey. And there is many, many years to come. So we're not, there's no retirement for you, I have to say. So the French system might retire you, but we will not.
Thank you for that. Jean-Luc, I'm wondering if you want to elaborate on this story. Perhaps you can speak to Schneider's perspective on the different phases or steps in the partnership. What were those different phases, and what was Schneider seeking to provide or get out of a partnership within these different phases? And type away if you're having audio difficulties.
No, he's coming back.
Yeah, there we go.
Something is happening.
It's that you told him he could never retire, and he was having second thoughts about being part of this conversation.
No way.
So while we let Jean-Luc sort out his audio, Shawn, can I ask you another question?
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if anything caught you by surprise as this partnership evolved. Like, was there anything that was particularly unexpected that you learned?
Yeah. Going back to it, it was the depth of knowledge in their field with Schneider, especially when we post funding. I mean, we were really surprised how much they knew about the systems, electrical systems, the depth of people that were there. They were really. I know. Usually, I kind of always associated Schneider with a utility. You know, it's just it was I stereotyped them. So, you know, never judge a book by its covers. That's the thing. And then, but once you start a little reading into the book, I mean, it's a very capable company. But at the same time, it's still a large company, and it still, you know, has its own trepidations and moves at its own speed. But that I have learned from my prior expectations that Zen Buddhism exists because of people who want to move very quickly that work in large companies, so they can meditate on that. So that's a very important aspect. Otherwise, you just get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think we got Jean-Luc back. Otherwise, he's frozen. But I'm positive. It was a positive. Unexpected. Let's put it that way. It's definitely so far I treat it as a very positive experience.
Yeah. Jean-Luc, any luck? If not, I can keep peppering poor Shawn with questions.
No, poor Shawn is doing good. This is all fine. He's happy to hang out with his old friends from Greentown. So this is all good.
Shawn, what do you think made the work together that you guys have done together successful?
Defining goals. I think that helped considerably, meaning we had to create a common ground with where the value proposition is for Schneider, and where the value proposition for that had to be rehashed so many ways. Until it got like really ironed out. I mean, it was like an iron shirt that you go to a Hollywood ball. I mean, until that thing was not visible to the management upstairs, all the way to the top, and to the people, that was, and Jean-Luc and others really helped on that one. But Jean-Luc really, because we could not message that internally. Because, you know, we don't know the culture, we don't know who the people are, we don't know where the squeaky wheels are, we don't know where, you know, who to talk to within the company. So you had to have a champion. And the most important thing is you can have the you know, called the value proposition, but every large company or every other company has their own language. And Schneider has their own language, and we don't know that language. And it takes years to learn that language. And even the language for middle management is different than senior management, and in, you know, business units. Each one of them has a different Schneider language. In how Jean-Luc really translated that, besides translating it in French, but he translated it in the corporate language of of Schneider, and that I think that was one of the key successes. So it was a clear value proposition to multiple business units. If I would have to chalk it up, internal champion that selflessly went around and gathered other people. And the third one was translating the value proposition and the benefits to the company that speaks in their language. Because if it was not spoken in Schneider language, it doesn't matter. And we, you know, and it's very interesting because we work with the companies like Mercedes, Toyota, Hyundai, in some of the consumer electronic ones.
Yeah.
That's the problem is that even though they see the value proposition, a person looks at the value proposition, it's very hard to translate that into the Toyota culture. It's stuck somewhere in Michigan. It doesn't go to Japan, and there's no champion to carry it. So the thing that drives me nuts, I don't have Jean-Luc all over the place, you know. And if we had a Jean-Luc, and we have one in the Mercedes, and Tobias Grossman, and he pushes this thing and pushes the vision, and that's why it's working.
Yeah.
But in Toyota, it's harder because you have a middle manager in Michigan who sees the value, but they're looking for their own project. So it's very important to have that buy-in on the higher level.
Yeah.
And that can talk to the C-suite, but at the same time talk to the managers, and that's what Jean-Luc did. So Jean-Luc, I expect many free dinners from this because I've been selling you like there's nobody's business. So
Can you hear me now?
oh yeah.
We can.
Okay, finally. I'm sorry. I've tried 2 headsets, a camera, and for whatever reason it was not working. So I think a lot was said over here, and thanks for the kudos. It's too much credit, actually, that he's giving me. But I think the point that is very important and is really to help the company, the startup, and I use the image of the school picture, right? To look like someone that Schneider can recognize when they look at them. So I think a lot of the work that has to happen is to educate. I mean, first is spend time with the startup to really understand their value proposition. And I can even say that for Titan, some of the things that they had listed as a low differentiator or an added bonus have actually come to the forefront of the value proposition of Schneider. So there is, you know, it's a bit of getting the worms out of the fruit, right? But the good worm, I would say, is really understanding what the company wants to do and trying to contextualize that for Schneider and say, where can we use that? And you know, we went through a journey where we, you know, I don't want to be too much into the business, but we were looking at the application in the UPS business. We're the market leader in uninterruptible power supplies, from the ones that you have behind a PC, a desktop, a cash register in a CVS stores, up to, you know, Google and Facebook data centers. And we brought the business guy in. We tried to get them interested to say, what could we do in that space, right? And I was actually writing strategy for that business before, so it helped me a little bit identify the value proposition. And then we figured out that actually that was not where it was the most compelling. And it forced actually Titan to really dig deep into where they were adding value. And we identified that actually energy storage was the area where we had the most potential. So I think that went onto a journey where one of the key attributes and the kudos I want to give to Titan and Shawn and the whole team has been around pivoting, right, or adjusting, right, understanding that some of their value proposition were stronger with Schneider, and as we were doing that, we were learning together how they can, you know, clarify and dig deeper in their technology to extract more value than they thought they could initially. So for me, that was a very important piece in the collaboration. The other important piece, and I think, you know, that's the credit I was given, but I think it's all about people, right? In the end, if everybody stands on its own position, everybody says, this is what I do, this is what you do, we never get together, right? But when we're willing to build a vision together, we're willing to challenge each other, and we challenge ourselves, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work because it relies on people. And sometimes people are ready to accept. Sometimes you have to put it on the back burner and say, well, it's not the good time for some Schneider people to adopt that. So you go around and you bring the value proposition to others, and you bring people on board, you influence. But the key thing is the ability for each of the parties to listen to each other and to try to challenge the other in a positive way, so we can make steps forward together, right? And we can go to the next stage. And if you think about, for all of you listening in, we will not invest in all companies. And actually, there were 4 companies at GTL. I can mention one. Wembo might be on the phone. I was absolutely not convinced about what he was doing then. And once again, back in February in Boston, and I figure out he pivoted, and what he's doing is now very relevant to Schneider, right? So sometimes you need to give time to time, so you get to the point where there is alignment. But in terms of partnerships, what we can do is we can do joint go-to-market. We can test your solution with Schneider go-to-market and see if it resonates with customers. That could lead us into potentially reselling your technology or licensing your technology. We believe we can embed it into what we do, and eventually we could get to acquisition, right? So if you think about the case of Titan, I think that we could embed their technology in our products and services. We have identified things where we can create companies together that will benefit both to Schneider as to Titan. So there is a lot of things, and I don't think we'll be actually acquiring Titan, because what they do is valuable to many more people than it is to Schneider. But we will be supporting them financially. We want them to be successful on their own, and if they are successful, we can use their technology and benefit from that.
Can you speak a little to the different hats that you wear in this capacity? And I think you started to go in this direction, but on one hand, you're a representative of Schneider and you're working with them in this menu of different ways. And then on the other hand, you're just an advocate for Titan more generally and helping to make them stronger. I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that a bit more.
Yeah, so I would say I have a dual personality. On one side, working the partnership with Schneider, I see myself as a hinge, right? So if you think about a door and a frame, what holds it together and makes it function together is the hinge. So to Schneider, I must be viewed as an employee representing Schneider interest, but I'm successful only if Titan sees me as, virtually an extension of our team. So that's probably half of my mission, and my mission, which is the core of my job here, is really to make sure that Schneider leverages the attributes and the capabilities of Titan to accelerate our strategy. The other piece is being a board member. I'm an investor, right? So I represent actually the venture group. This is another group we have. We have a group that deals with partnerships, and part of this one, and a group that deals with investment. And there, we're a shareholder, right? So we look at the financial return of the company. And there, I think I'm trying to challenge the management team as well as to coach the management team and help the management team. So challenge is, making sure that when decisions are being made, you ask the right questions. You don't tell them what to do, but you ask the questions so they can find the right answer, and we can find the right answer together. Helping them opening doors, right? We talk about the automotive industry, but there is also the consumer electronics industry, and there are chipset suppliers. We have a lot of personal relationship or corporate relationship at Schneider. And when we realize that our ecosystems of partners could become either clients or suppliers, we open up the door, right? Which Titan may not have otherwise, or we make it easier for them to get access, right? And we sponsor that. So that's I would say the second role. And the third one is sitting on the board is really roll up the sleeves, right? And I participate into meetings as a fly on the wall, but I spend time also with Titan. So, and especially with Shawn, we have those whiteboarding sessions where we sit down together and we try to say, what have we learned? And where do we take the company from here? Where are the priorities? What do we change? And guess what? With this COVID thing, we need to be on our toes and we need to be able to change. So that's the second part of my role, which is being a board member with those three roles that I've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. How frequently are you two in touch?
Shawn. Daily.
I think it's every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's daily.
But even if it is just a chat, sometimes we don't have time to work together, but we at least exchange a text message, and sometimes a gentle reminder that, where are you on this one, managing the relationship with partners that, we need to keep the connection. But yeah, I would say daily.
Was there a point or phase or step at which you feel like both parties realized that you were really in this for the long haul together? I feel like that's a question I'd ask a couple.
Yes. Yeah, we realized that we're going to get married somewhere May, June, a little bit earlier. And we just kind of went through. No, actually, Jean-Luc, when was the time when we went to have a lobster dinner in Marblehead? That was our kind of
at the Barnacle. Yes. So yeah, that was in April, May timeframe. Yes. I recommend the Barnacle, by the way.
This is in Marblehead. It's a great place when COVID goes away. It's a fantastic. Yeah. So we really kind of worked almost we hammered out all the details on the investment and the project forward in that dinner. And they kind of said, okay, now we're going to bring it back to the Schneider management and make sure things go happen. And after that one, the kind of term sheet came along, and which followed those same guidelines of that lobster dinner.
Yeah. You started to mention that, after COVID, we'll all be able to go to our favorite restaurants again. And I feel like I should acknowledge that it's a highly unusual moment in time right now. And I'm interested in both of your thoughts on to what extent you think kind of the learnings and the experiences that we're discussing here are relevant in the current context and relevant in whatever the new normal is that we're going to merge into. Jean-Luc, do you want to start with this?
No, leave me to Shawn.
You're going to hand it up? Well, one thing is very, so the lucky part is that we have been able to operate, and when we've been postponing certain things, as in, design engineering for our new product to come in. We were thinking that's going to be a little bit later. Now we kind of brought it up front. So we kind of adjusted to do a lot of our, that you can do kind of thinking engineering without hands-on. And then we have our lab people that go into it. They go by 2 at a time. So we adjusted on that side. But from the global perspective, the COVID, what it affected is some of our clients or potential clients, some of them kind of postponed everything because they're the automakers. So I think I was on a cadence that every month I was in France. So September, October, November, December, February I was in France. And that was the thing that Jean-Luc opened up a lot of the doors was with the French automakers, with the local semiconductor industry. So because Schneider has a tremendous amount of influence, and then the EU legislation on safety on batteries. So all of that was happening, and when COVID came in, everything stopped. So and then when does it come back, and at what force does it come back? We don't know. So it was, what we did is internally was, okay, let's readjust priorities. So that way, when we come back to to the market, what we will have is improved on products that you will kind of reiterate, work with the customers, kind of move forward on that one. So we said, instead of doing that longer process, just compress the technology development internally up front, so it's front loaded. So when everything comes back, it's kind of, you can kind of launch it. And if you are thinking about acquiring market share or getting new customers that brings you revenue, this gives you lots of headache, because you really want to always have exposure and bring, sales pipeline. You want to bring that in. But now basically that came to a halt, and then you're just doing an upfront investment. We think it's a good strategy because the other one doesn't work, so we have no choice. But I think if I thought about it because I wear two hats. I wear the hat of the CEO and the CTO, and the CTO is winning these days. If I would convince my CEO to do this, if there was no COVID, I think that would be the right thing to do. To get your, I call it, shit straight, and then go to the market, because you can do a greater impact. So I think that's a lesson. Let's put it that way.
So for me, the key thing is, when you have a crisis like this is a good moment to test how important you are to the strategy of your clients, right? And if you're not, therefore you will be deprioritized. When people don't have money, right, they will say, no, that's it, we pushed it out. If you are important to their strategy, you stay relevant, and you will stay relevant through the crisis. And it's a matter of time until you resume operation. So I would say, from the work that Titan has done and we've been working on together, I feel very confident that all the things we have put in a pipeline, if you wish, will actually resume shortly after the crisis, because what we do with our partners and potential clients are very important to them. The challenge, and I think Titan has done very well, and for every startup, this is the problem of cash. And how do you manage the cash in a most effective way? So if you have enough cash, you continue to invest, because there is competition out there, or you want to be in the best position to resume operation and serve your customers when they're ready to buy or discuss with you again. But that's the key, is how do you really focus spending your cash on one side on what will be the most relevant. And the second thing, and it's happening in every company, is making efforts, right? So when you think about your bonuses, or maybe taking vacation ahead of time, because you cannot go to the office, you cannot work in a normal condition, and asking everybody to bet on the future and not to try to cash in the short term. And I think it requires a very strong teamwork and a very strong confidence in all of the employees of Titan, in their management, that they're on the path of success, and that the short-term efforts will bring great benefits in the long term. So it's not only about the strategy, it's not only about the size of your wallet, but it's also about the engagement of the team and the belief in the startup that you're on the right path, you're going to be successful, and everybody is going to make the necessary efforts, whether it's more time, working remote, taking time off to conserve cash, to really ensure that the company has a very strong future. And I think Titan is doing that. So kudos to the team, and kudos to the leadership.
Thank you both. So I know we have a number of questions from the audience, so I'm actually going to ask just one more, and then I'm going to switch us over to Q&A a little earlier. So the final question that I wanted to make sure we put out there is, I know there are a number of potential applicants for the current Bold Ideas 2020 challenge going on with Schneider and Greentown in the audience. And so I'm hoping you two can share any advice that's specific to these individuals. What do you think that they should be doing or thinking about or asking at this early stage in the challenge process, and then as they think about moving forward within it? Shawn, do you want to start here?
Yeah, just know your customer. I mean, and be open. And I think Jean-Luc said it very clearly is um, be flexible to pivot. I mean, that is, you know, keep your core, but the core can shine in different ways. So if you're just very narrow focused, which is important for startups, but at the same time, you have to recognize that there is a great opportunity if done correctly in front of you. And how would I say it's when you're presenting that first presentation, really talk to the Greentown folks people beforehand because they know most of the people that are coming from Schneider. Get your intelligence. I did not do that, but I wish I did. Actually, Katie McDonald did provide me some background of all the things. So I guess that was she gave me a good rundown. She used to do this job, and she was very, very good at it. And so know your audience, so that way you can customize your pitch. That not that you're cheating or anything, or you're getting shortcuts. Is that you have to present it in a way that they understand, and that's very important. Otherwise, it's just gonna go. Even if it's the best thing ever, it would just fall on deaf ears because you have to resonate with your audience.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, don't try to please Schneider, right? Be yourself. Be very clear on your vision. Be very clear on your value proposition. Express with enthusiasm and passion what you want to build. That's one side. The other side is I use the image of the school picture, right? So you guys are all at college, and when you look at the school picture, or you will a few years from here, you know, look at it, you know, you'll be looking at yourself, right? So find a way to picture yourself within the Schneider school picture so that when the Schneider people look at you, they recognize themselves. So it requires that you do a little bit of diligence to understand who's in the room, what's their interest, and why they're here. Now, that's just the beginning, is to catch the attention. But, you know, this is really the type of thing you will have to do over and over again, and you will have to demand from the Schneider people that will be the sponsor of the relationship with you, is that they tell you more about Schneider, so that together, and I think that's what we've been able to do with Shawn and the team, is we introduce you know, each other to the other, and we really try to figure out where we fit together, where is the connection, where is the possible connection, and try one, and if it doesn't work, try another one until you find it. And if you don't find it, it's okay. You know, you would have learned a lot in there. You would have realized you're not relevant to Schneider, but hopefully you would have gotten a lot of coaching and information, and hopefully advice where people will tell you where to go to if you're not Schneider. So in the end, you know, something positive has to come out, and Schneider is not necessarily the only way out. There may be others, and as long as you get, you know, on the upside and you find other partnerships, and we at Schneider have helped you more than the 25K, I think we've done our job, which is to help innovation, even if we don't directly benefit from it.
Yeah, I would just add to exactly that learning experience. Going through that is invaluable because it's far more valuable than the 25K. And, you know, and I know at the time, every single dollar counted. I mean, every single dollar counted. And
And still counts.
They still do count. But that going through that and learning, because what they're doing is you're getting people who are challenging you, but they understand how larger systems work, and they challenge you to put all your ducks in a row, because that's one of the it's a good preparation for a seed round or an A round, that you start aligning all the necessary items together in order to be qualified to become a serious business. And even if you don't win it, it is a good thing to do. Even if you win it and you go through the process, it doesn't guarantee that there's going to something happen afterwards. But through that process, you learn quite a bit. So it was it was very, very helpful.
Is it fair to summarize that the advice there is to know your audience and discover your audience on an ongoing basis and find internal champions to help you with that process and really make it a practice? And then in the context of what you learn there, to be yourself and be clear and be organized in what you present. Is that a fair summary? Any edits?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go over to questions now. The first one I have here is for you, Shawn. We're wondering if you could share a little bit about what Titan looked like when you started at Greentown. So number of employees, product stage, that sort of thing.
There was 5 of us. We came in just before, I believe, when was the grand opening of the new area? Was in April of 18, I think it was like that. That was, so the official one was in May, but it was something in April. So we moved in, and there were 5 employees. There was Vincent, Steve, Ashish, Shawn, and myself. And basically, at that time, we did not have our echoes board. We had the oscilloscope, but we knew that one of the main reasons why we moved to Greentown is that we needed to cycle batteries. And before that, we were at the CIC. And the problem with the CIC is that you cannot put 3-phase electricity inside of it or any higher power. And so what we did is we bought our first cycler. We had our first contract with Daimler, and we started kind of building out the basic technology, which was then Echoes 1. Right there, this is where the first prototypes were built, the first 5. Then the next, that took about almost 8 months or so until we retired those, and then we build what we call Echoes 2, which we are retiring right now. That was the next 30 were built just before funding of July of 2019. So it was built in April and May, and it was designed for more flexibility, more things. But we grew from 4 people to 10 people or 11 people at one point. We thought we were going to stay longer in Greentown, but what happened was our requirements for power were just so much demanding that we would shut down half of Greentown in order to supply the power, and the cost to install all these new things inside it was just astronomical. And it's a cost of us in the city is very expensive. So we went to the burbs and reduced costs and gain flexibility. But I think it was fantastic at the time, and it was very flexible, if that kind of answers your question.
Thank you for that. Here's another one, and this one's for Jean-Luc. And I imagine we could talk about this at length, so maybe a high-level response. The question is, what is the criteria for Schneider to lead a Series A funding?
Okay, so if you look at the healthy tension that exists between our 2 teams, the venture team on one side and the partnership team on the other side, we are consistently mapping different startups and different field of interest along 2 axes. One, which is the strategic interest for Schneider, which means ability to accelerate Schneider's strategy, and the other one being the return on investment. So if you look at the way we map the things, we look for the top right corner, as usual, which is high strategic alignment and high strategic investment. I would say that if I take the hat of my folks in the venture side, they rather invest in Series C, where there is proven business, there are revenues, and it's about scaling. But if you think about the opportunity for differentiation when we do partnerships in Series C, it may well be that our competitors have already found that company, right? So in the end, it may be a race for, if it is really a company that is important to our industry, maybe a race for who would acquire them first. So I would say that to invest in Series A, it takes a lot of convincing from the partnership team that we're really sitting on something disruptive, and that those guys, Titan in that case, not only can add a lot of value to Schneider, but they are actually most likely to be relevant in many industry. And this is the case for Schneider, for Titan, as Titan can actually serve the automotive industry, they can serve the needs of energy storage, they can actually get into consumer electronics. But where they disrupt the business the most on our side is the fact that we hope we can use second life batteries coming from the automotive industry for energy storage, and therefore change the economics of storage today, and make sure that in a world that will be, a world of prosumers, where consumers will be producing and consuming energy, whether residential or companies, we will change the economics so that the cost of energy will be contained and not be increased, as it might be the case going forward because of the complexity of managing the grid.
Thank you for that. All right, guys, here's one for both of you. Can you speak a little more to the value proposition for each side in the collaboration? Maybe like a direct summary of it for each party.
So maybe I'll start.
Yeah, you go first.
So I said, right, we are the leader in energy management worldwide with Schneider, right? And we know the world is moving to what we call the new energy landscape, where, if you use computer terms, we used to have mainframes and dumb terminals, so, power plants and dumb users. And we're moving to a world where, it's a client server, right? You would have cloud on one side, but you would have intelligence at the edge, right? Or PCs and servers and things like this. So the edge is actually the companies, is actually the consumers, and this is, what's happening behind the meter. So we believe that in this world, you need to be able to contain the cost of energy. You need to be able to store energy. And if you want to store energy, it has to be economically viable, which is not the case today. So the value proposition of Titan is potentially to enable us to deliver more capacity, for a given size of battery, longer life, but potentially to use batteries from another application, the EV market, into second life for energy storage. So that's the value that the Titan brings to us.
Yeah, and you see, it was a very on our side is just kind of not going deeply into our technology. There's two main, well, now it's three benefits, but at the time we only understood two benefits. Is the way how energy storage, and we discovered this thing quite a bit when actually working with Schneider itself, is that most stationary storage systems, or most BMSs, this is battery management systems, they carry a large buffer. And the buffer is basically because of inaccuracies of the measurement of batteries over time. And put it in engineering terms, all BMSs run open loop. So they have a lookup table, and that lookup table, you reference something, the lookup table is generated by the battery manufacturer. And so you're estimating your value of or degradation of your battery. So our value proposition for Schneider and for other OEMs was we can measure your battery real time, measure, that's the operative word, versus estimate where you are with your state of charge and state of health. And that was very, very enticing, I think, for Schneider, because they can differentiate against ABB, they can differentiate, and they can take their kind of own destiny in their hands. And that's kind of where we were going. And it was just a matter of fact of how do you package it? And how do you package it as a business unit? And as Jean-Luc said, yes, the investment group would rather take a C round any day. I would say 100 out of 1, they would take a C round any day. And this is it's very uncertain. But if we were a C round, we would have established marketplace, everything. And it's just basically, you're not buying a bond, but you're buying shares on the open market, because if we do C round, we will go IPO or something like that. So there's no risk. It's a very established thing. So the people inside of Schneider, Jean-Luc and company, they had to translate that capacity buffer, call it elimination or reduction, directly to dollars. And the second part of it is that we can use second life batteries. And that was another very, very enticing. So you can take modules from Nissan Leaf, add our technology right onto it, and all of a sudden you basically get the same capacity in the same usage as brand new Korean, very expensive batteries. And that puts Schneider in a very advantageous position. But even when you even have that, business units are still skeptical, and they like to buy things with full warranties, and it's just what it is. It's the world of larger larger corporates, that you just have to fight this fight, but on the end, if you don't fight it, you just wind up in a wastebasket. So you got to fight, and one foot at a time, and one PowerPoint at the day, or so to speak. So that's kind of, but you have good partners. I'm super lucky.
Thank you both. Here's another one. So as startups seek to engage corporate partnerships with companies like Schneider, you both have emphasized the importance of really understanding the audience and the value propositions to various business units. Can you give examples of how a startup can go about that? Advice on approaches to take when it actually comes to executing on that advice.
Make the message very simple. I mean, as clear as possible. I know all of our technologies, or all of our businesses we tend to overcomplicate things, because, I always say is the smarter the people are, the more complicated they become, and they overcomplicate everything. And so you just have to dumb it down, as I said, to a 4-year-old or a Labrador, because what you need to do is that message has to come across. And I always think about Winston Churchill. And when Winston Churchill provides his speeches, and if you look at all of his speeches, he uses Anglo-Saxon words, not the Latin words, or the French words, or the Germanic words. And the reason why is because that's the words of the common people, and the ones that if you look at the words that we use on an everyday basis, that's 80% of that. Focus on the words that we use on a daily basis versus elaborate systems, because that will subconsciously dig deep into the audience. And then that later on, once you pass those lots of hurdles, then you can jointly create that complication. In the complication, meaning the complexity of the market, because you really don't understand the market. Schneider understands their market better, than that's why they're in business. So the value proposition has to be created jointly. But you just have to kind of simplify it so they can take that message and create it use Jean-Luc's analogy, which I adore, is try to paint yourself into that high school reunion picture. And where did they find themselves in that? And then if you don't, it's like, it's not going to work. So always have that in mind.
Yeah, I would say that, the word value proposition is very important to me, right? And sometimes in the audience at Schneider, you will find technology people that want to look under the hood type of thing. I think you need to please those people, but the people that will take you further in the partnerships are people that will see the business value, right? So I would say in a school picture, right? Be super crisp on which customers you will be serving and what unique value proposition you offer. And the value proposition is what value you offer versus which alternative, and potentially, ideally explaining the price element, right? I enabled you to do energy storage at the fraction of the cost of the new battery versus a new battery, right? And try to get to this level. And if people drag you into the technology, try to shy away from it, or find the people and in Schneider or whomever you're going to present to that start with a business view. Because if you convince people that you have a business proposition, then your next challenge will be to prove that your technology enables enables you to deliver this value proposition better than anyone else. But being technical for the sake of being technical may get you nowhere because it's not proven what you do, right? So it's more important to focus on the value than on the how you're going to get there. It may not be what you think is right, but that's my advice.
So on the topic of having distinct value propositions, here's one for you, Shawn. What drew you specifically to the Schneider Bold Ideas program with Greentown over other potential incubators?
It's the match. Well, it was easy because even though there were other programs there, and later on is the BASF program, and there was other ones, but this was extremely close and extremely relevant. So it's more if, let's say that it was, so there's two things. One of them was what Schneider was doing especially as Jean-Luc said earlier, the UPS space was something that we thought, this is fantastic if we can go in there. And turned out to be, it doesn't work as much, but that's okay. But we learned through that. So that was one of them. The other part, we always knew that we wanted to get a strategic investor. And we made that decision very, very early on. And why we forego to have a seed round. So Shawn and myself funded the company for almost 3 years. And we lived on, call it retirements, grants, Mass CC, and all kinds of other NRE projects. But we really understood that we have to choose a strategic partner for scaling. Because for this, we're not a software company, we're a hardware company. We do a lot of software because we do a lot of algorithms and everything else, but for all practical purposes, we're a semiconductor company. Yes, we don't have foundries, we design them, but we need scaling. So in order to do that scaling, you need to find a partner. So which industry are we gonna go? So it was a choice. Are we gonna go into the automotive industry? No, that was not too fragmented, and they don't think vertical integration, it's all supplier. Do we do consumer electronics? This is our market. Consumer electronics, we're not ready because we need to do the miniaturization, so that doesn't work. ESS that's the right fit because the barriers to get into it is we can get with our product, plus the value proposition is very strong. So then that was the bold idea, so that makes sense. Now, then we had to figure out how do we scale this thing. So when we saw that partnership, we kind of ran with it really hard, and it worked out. And it's a fantastic thing. So, and of course, the proof is in the pudding. We still have to work quite a bit to make this scaling. And Jean-Luc and I, we work on this thing all the time. Now we have to make this ESS module completed. And that is something end of this year or January, February next year, where there will be a finished product for that ESS. Then once that is there, then comes that benefit of having Schneider that can take that thing, go through the proper certifications, go through the thing and scale it globally, which it would just take us endless amount. It would destroy the company, because in order to do that, we would have to hire 30, 40, 50 people. And then we would just lose the character and our competitive advantages, understanding batteries, sound propagation, algorithms, and semiconductors. Why would you want to do that? Because that's not our core competency. Because we have to do the same thing to automotive or consumer electronics. I mean, you would just mess up the company completely. This way, you partner with someone who really makes sense, and then they lead the way, and you're in the background supporting them, just like they're supporting us with, defining and understanding the market. The roles will flip at that time.
Thank you for that. So everyone, we're about at time, so I want to let you go. A big, big, big thank you, Shawn and Jean-Luc, for your thoughtfulness and for taking the time to be with us and for sharing Greentown, and I know the audience appreciates it. And then, of course, a big thank you to the audience as well for spending this time with us. A quick plug, you will receive an email after this event that includes a survey. I know surveys are not always the most fun thing in the world, and I know that time is a really scarce asset, but if you could take the 60 seconds and complete it, it would be really appreciated, because it helps us to ensure that we continue to deliver relevant content. So again, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesdays.
Oh, no worries. And we have a fireside. Right there.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks for your questions. We need help.
Shawn, we should have used that from the start.
Yeah, you said fireside chat, and actually I can just turn it on. Here we go. There we go. If everybody can see, there's a fireside chat. So we have completed that one.
We've ticked all the boxes.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.